Every time I go for a walk and with the dogs and I pass by this big huge tree, I always say to myself, there's got to be a teachable point in this. And I thought of it today. Look at the size of this tree compared to the other trees in the area. If you look at the size of this tree, all the other ones are quite small. That made me think that part of being successful in business is just surviving year after year after year. Now you may say, well, the purpose of business is to thrive. But in reality, if you want to accrue a really good long-term ROI for the people that founded a business, you got to be around for many, many years in order for that return on investment to exist and build. And so I was thinking about how I could parse this, and I thought, well, maybe I could put in the context of the 4 Ps and the 6 environments, plus just having the grit determination to continue. So you have to have a competitive product, but not only something that's good now, but something that's flexible and adaptable in the future, and be innovative about it. You have to have a competitive price, and you have to be able to offer that price for many, many years. So often what that requires you to do is take advantage of supply chain management efficiencies and long-term deals with suppliers, etc., so you can keep that price competitive compared to the competitors. Promotion. That's highly affected by the technological environment. So you have to keep pace with the technological developments so that your promotion catches the attention of people in a very competitive environment. And place and location. You might just have one location and really have a strong, sustained interest from a lot of people who are your core customers, or you might stand to many locations like your Tim Hortons, which is always expanding. Let's look at these 6 environments. The economic environment changes. It's in cyclical fashion. And even though our modern economy tends to have a very short-term basis of 3 months, 4 months periods, when you want to have a business that's as old as 3 or 4 decades, you have to understand the economy comes in cycles, and that sometimes you're going to do well and sometimes you're not. Social cultural environment. That's also affected by immigration trends. We have some particular large numbers of people in the GTA right now, but it wasn't always that case. And there'll be another group come in the future and another group come in the future. So whatever product or service you're dealing with has to be able to attend to the likes and interests of those different social cultural groups. The competitive environment, perhaps more important than all of these. Competition will be both direct and also indirect. There may be companies that offer products that even sometimes replace the existence for your product. So you have to be adaptive and very innovative. The political, legal, regulatory environment, that also somewhat cyclical, particularly in a country like Canada where you have a multi-party system. Could be the Liberals in power, could be the Conservatives in power, could be some coalition, could be the NDP eventually. We also have different political parties at the provincial level, and we also have the increase in people being interested in coalitions and parties and different political viewpoints at the municipal level. Technological, geographic, weather extremes. This year we had quite a number of extreme weather situations which affected the ability to produce things. It also affected the time at which you must take to get your goods to market. Also affected all kinds of things in terms of the ability to have energy to heat your building, communication, other kinds of things like that. And one of the things I wanted to also end on is just simply looking at the tree itself. If you look at the size of this tree, in order to be able to grow and sustain your business over a long period of time, I can't help but think there's got to be some measure of just ornery, stick-to-itiveness, just want to be around and keep going against all adversity. Part of being successful in business is just trying really, really, really hard and not giving up. And I think that this tree represents that because it's an absolute giant in this forest where I go walking. There's not a tree around here that even comes close. So whatever it did to hide itself from the logger's axe 100 years ago when this area was taken, this is a big, huge, giant white pine, and caused itself in the decades in the 60s and 70s and 80s to avoid whatever it did, whether it was just location or whatever, it survived. You've got to have respect for this tree. So I'm down here by the riverbank, and ladies stepping on top of some beaver tracks here in the soft mud. Beaver's a very industrious animal, and I just wanted to add on to some points. I was talking about that big huge tree in terms of what are some of the principles that allow a company to be successful and last for a long time. Talking about beaver as Canadian emblem is probably a good analogy because beavers are not very flashy and they're not very exciting and they don't move very fast. but they work and very steadily engineer large projects. Anyhow, so what I'm going to do is make a video of me talking to a bunch of entrepreneurs that I know. Some of them I've seen operating independent stores, not necessarily well-known franchises, but they've been in business for quite some time. And I'm going to ask them, what are some of the secrets, or what are some of the things that you can remember that caused you to be successful year after year after year? Because I think that's something very interesting for young people to know. What are some of those characteristics? And I may refer to the 4Ps and the 6Es, but there's other factors as well. It could be a little bit of luck, and I know that some cultures pray to luck because that also is a little bit important to bank on sometimes. But I'm going to take this camera with me to people I know in the community and get several segments together and clips of people I know as entrepreneurs and talk to them about how they're able to sustain their business for a long period of time. That camera was just knocked by that dog who is running away through the woods there. Okay, you guys, you just screwed my editing. I'll just leave it in. You going in there again, Ranger? Okay. So I'm here out front of this store in Kensington Market. I was just talking to the proprietor about staying in business because my wife and I are shopping there and recognized that he's been in business for such a long time. So I thought I'd ask him some simple questions about how he's simply able to stay in business for such a long time. So my question was, the fact that you've been in business a long time, that's an important criteria of being successful, is just to be able to stay in business.
Absolutely. The most important thing is just to keep going, just like it's very important to keep going in life.
How long have you been in Kensington Market?
29 years.
Great.
Going on 30.
All right, and the same blend of all the things in the store?
Yep. Always the same thing, and I've been doing this since 1972. So I've been doing it for 42 years, and the funny thing is, back in 1972, my only clients were hippies and students. Mm-hmm. And ironically, I still sell to some of the same students, the only difference being, instead of being students, they're grandparents.
So that's the definition of CLV, customer lifetime value, in a sense, right?
There you go, yeah.
Well, thanks very much for your time.
You're welcome. I've actually had a guy come in just yesterday. He said he was last in Toronto in 1985.
Yeah.
And he said, your hair was darker then.
Thanks for your time.